everybody, this is Francesco Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report. Tyranny, what is it all about? The direction that we're going in as a country. The bureaucracy, the police, the military state. We labor under this weight of countless tyrannical powers, the government, corporations, the elite, all leaning on us. We find ourselves, you, me, being badgered, bullied, browbeaten. Why? Why are we there to bear the brunt of all their arrogance? Why? Pay the price for the greed. Think about it. The tyranny, the overt signs of despotism. They're all around us. Warrantless surveillance of Americans. We just found out from the NSA how much more they're doing of it. SWAT team raids on the home. Innocent people. No idea. Next thing you know, they're being SWAT teamed. Maybe they had some cash in their hand. The government doesn't want that. Shooting unarmed citizens and getting away with it. Schools. You've all heard me preach about the zero tolerance in the prison system that our high schools, elementary, middle schools have all become. How about drones taken to the skies everywhere, watching our every move? Roving TSA sweeps. Border Patrol 100 miles in, which means basically Border Patrol controls and has authority all over the state of Florida where I'm at. Overtaxed, overregulated, overrepresented in some places, you could say, as a populace. You got both the federal government, the state governments, the city governments. They're all out there. They require penalties or fines on individuals. They want you to apply for permission to do different things. You know, before you go out, you grow an exotic orchid or something like that. You want to have a dinner party, you better get authority for that. You better get approval for that. You can't have friends at your home for Bible study. There was an issue here in Venice not too long ago. Individuals were having a Bible study. Well, you can't be doing that kind of stuff. Giving coffee to the homeless. No, you can't do that. I was reading this article that brought this to mind, the tyrannical ways of the government and society. And they brought up Supreme Court, Yang versus Tomlinson, which this author basically said struck at the heart of the bureaucratic exercise and absurdity, pushing over-regulation, over-criminalization to that extreme level. And you see that throughout their government. They know what's best for us. They want to be able to control us. They want to be able to regulate and dictate almost everything for the citizenry. This article was interesting because they brought up different things, like in Missouri. And the author got going on this whole braided African hairstyles and how the government wants you to have a license. And basically, in Missouri, you have to undertake something like 1,500 hours in a cosmetology class, which costs tens of thousands of dollars, so that you can go out and braid someone's hair. And if you don't have that license, even if you're just two girlfriends hanging out, you couldn't get in trouble. Same within Missouri. Anyone wanting to braid African-style hair and charge for it, they must acquire some kind of license. In Tennessee, and also in Tennessee, if you go out and do this, according to this article, residents can be fined up to $100,000 for violating the law where you don't go out and get this license or this law to braid hair. In Oregon, they said the article or the author said basically the law is so broad that you need a license when you're out there planning to braid for free. Now, Missouri and Tennessee, those were where you'll be charging. This one is where you'll do it for free. You need a license. Just the mere act of going out, touching someone's hair. In Iowa, you can be sentenced up to 2 years in prison for braiding hair without attending cosmetology school. And it just talks about these absurdities that we go through, these tyrannical laws and regulations that are being pushed upon us. They went through a whole variety of stuff and how the government is trying to get into every aspect of American life as we know it today. They noted that back 70 years ago, 20 U.S. jobs required a state license, and now it's 1 out of every 3 occupations require that license. And a lot of people say, well, you need it to ensure that the people are trained and they just don't become a cosmetologist doing facials without the training. I get that. But it goes to extremes when you start talking about being able to braid one's hair. And that's what happens when you have bureaucrats that are out there running the show, the rule of law. They're out there dictating everything. It becomes a little bit more than just a show, to show the citizenry how they need to walk or march lockstep with the government. And they want to get that mindset. Another interesting one was one where they talked about here in Florida, where a fisherman was penalized, and he could get up to 20 years in jail for throwing a fish that were too small back into the water. And they also alluded to, I believe it was down in Miami, where there's a 90-year-old man that's been feeding the homeless, and he's faced a $1,000 fine plus 4 months in jail for violating the city ordinance on not feeding the homeless out in the public. And the author sort of thought it's kind of funny, that this is all happening down in Florida. He also talked about how Nicole Gainey, she was doing some free-range parenting where her 7-year-old son could walk to the park by himself. And God forbid, we don't want that, right? And she got in trouble. It was just a few blocks, and she's facing up to 5 years in jail. And he talked about, isn't it ironic that you got all these pristine beaches, it's balmy, Florida's the place to go to, but it's not immune from problems, and that they're plagued with stuff like overcriminalization, incarceration rates, bureaucracy, corruption, police misconduct, and all that stuff, and that the Sunshine State has become a poster child for the idiocracy that's out there, that's in place, and transforming society into a tyranny. And throughout the United States, the populace as a whole is doing this. And we're doing this all in the name of freedom. Basically, we're saying regulate us. Put us in this lockdown state for safety, for security, for material comforts. We'll go ahead and allow our constitutional rights to be taken away, our basic rights to be taken away. We're bartering those rights of self-governance, self-defense, privacy, autonomy, all that good stuff, for the right to tell the government, go to hell, leave us alone. You can't do that. We're bartering it all away. In exchange, and what they're doing is they're saying, okay, well, we're going to give you safe streets. We're going to give you a person that has to have a license to braid your hair. We're going to lower your taxes, lower your crime rate. We're going to do government surveillance to make sure nobody's out by your home. We want you to be safe. Asset forfeiture. We want to get all the drug addicts, but, every once in a while, mom and pop or your grandma may have $1,000, and we may take it because cocaine's on that dollar bill, even though cocaine is trace amounts are probably on every single dollar bill that's out there. Don't worry about it. Lesson plate readers, over criminalization, over regulation. It's just part of the game, and we accept it. But in the end, they always turn sour. And who's on the losing end? We ask our lawmakers, go out there, be tough on crime. And we get all kinds of what this author referred to as abundance of laws that criminalize almost every aspect of life. We do. 4,500 criminal laws and 300,000 criminal regulations. So you could be committing a criminal act and not even realizing it. You want the criminals taken off the streets, right? We have to do this. What do you think? And it's strange how people will just give this all up. We want law enforcement agencies out there. We want them to have the necessary resources to fight the war on terror, the war on crime. We end up with a militarized police, grenade launchers, silencers, battle tanks. And they say they need it. Asset forfeiture, that came from the war on drugs. And it's strange because the Justice Department estimates that $4.3 billion is being taken in from this. And a lot of the local police stations rely on that asset forfeiture for the revenues for the city, for the county, whichever department they're in Florida. The police aren't any strangers to this where I live. They've been carrying out reverse sting operations where they pose as drug dealers. They lure these people into the premise. They promise them basically you're going to get cheap cocaine, cheap meth, whatever it is. Then they bust them. They seize their cash. They seize their cars. Over a course of a year, it talked about in this article how a Florida town seized up to $6 million using entrapment schemes out there. And we're all doing this because we're falling for that idea of a safer society, a safer road. You know, regular cameras. They just installed new flashing ones up here in Sarasota. They don't flash anymore. They got a new vendor. And that's a revenue generator. But they're saying, oh, yeah, we want to keep everybody safe. No, it's a revenue generator. Ticket unsuspecting drivers, all in the name of road safety. And they generate millions of dollars a year, especially here in Florida. Profit incentive schemes. It's ridiculous. And when it's all said and done, as I listen to the rainstorm coming in, who's really to blame for all this but us? The wool's been pulled over our eyes. We've believed the con man and we've been conned. And you need to face reality. And it's going to continue to happen until people wake up. Is this the version of America that we were sold and that we want? Is it really worth the price of our freedoms? That's the question. All right, everybody, this has been Francesco Abbruzzino with the Uncensored Report.